Sea of Thieves, more like Sea of These nuts fit in your mouth, I guess, is basically the way that the developers of the game are taking the viewpoint of how they're handling criticism from their community. And it's been a long time since I've like interacted with anything Sea of Thieves. You know, it's a game that I play on the occasion just to have some fun with it, but the fact that it's like 130 gigabytes of a download is kind of tough, so I don't play it too much. But what actually happened was there was kind of a controversial decision that they made when it comes to like one of the currency systems that they have in the game, because they have like 3 different things that you can use to buy stuff. I think one of them was like actual like a microtransaction that you gotta pay legitimate money for. Another one is like doubloons, which I guess are more difficult like currency to get, and then you have gold, which is like the basic thing that you get for selling almost legitimately everything in the entire world. From what I understand, what was happening was there was a issue with the way the doubloons were working in the game just as a system overall, where a lot of people were just like hoarding onto a bunch of doubloons because like there was no reason for them to spend them. A lot of the cosmetics that they had weren't really useful in any capacity, and they weren't just like enticing in any way whatsoever for a player to spend their doubloons. And so as a result, I guess there was just like a really terrible economy when it came to these type of currency, where just every single player who was worth their weight in anything was just hoarding onto these doubloons, because there really wasn't anything to do with them. And so as a result, Rare, the developers of the Sea of Thieves game, decided that they were going to do a full-blown like rework with the doubloon system, and that they're changing like the way that it worked and like how you can acquire them, and just basically like their entire system overall. The issue with this is that the way they decided to go about this was kind of an annoying way for a lot of players, that it kind of probably could have been done better. And they just said, what if we wipe off every single person's doubloons in its entirety? What if we get rid of everything in its entirety when it comes to just what people have with doubloons, and let's convert them into gold, and then let's completely revamp the doubloon system while also simultaneously putting it on a cap of doubloons so that people can't hold on to all of them, or can't hold on to a bunch of doubloons like they've been doing so. Now, obviously, a lot of people were mad about this, and this was something that was announced like 4 months ago, or it was announced a long time ago in the grand scheme of game development, but they obviously didn't like listen to any criticisms or any annoyances that, hey, you know, we worked hard for these doubloons, even though like they're not really useful in any capacity. We would like to, you know, to hold on to them. From what it seems, they just didn't really care, so they wiped off everyone's doubloons. But the good thing is that I guess like a lot of the cosmetics that they're adding with this new doubloon system is something that a lot of people actually want, and like the cosmetics are like at least somewhat desirable, so this wiping of the system isn't just a total net negative. But this is where another issue comes in. So not only were people mad about the entire like acquisition of their doubloons getting wiped, the rollout in which they did the doubloon like system rework just didn't go well at all. They obviously had to reset people's doubloon count. They had to go like do a player-wide sweep of every single person's doubloons and make it so that, you know, everyone had 0. But the issue here is that they didn't even do it properly, because one Sea of Thieves is known for a lot of its random bullshit bugs that it has. It kind of like adds to the allure of the game being a buggy shit show, but also some things are like annoying little bugs that they definitely need to fix. And in this case, there was just a bunch of like players who just didn't get any of their doubloons wiped in any capacity. So they had like 9,000 out of the 4,000 limit of doubloons that they were allowed to have in this new system. And so if you have a bunch of doubloons over the limit and you literally can't own anything more, and you can't like earn any more doubloons, what are you going to do? You're going to spend these doubloons that you have because you have more than you should ever need in this situation. And that's what a lot of people did who were over this limit of doubloons. They went on and they bought a lot of stuff with the doubloons that they just had, because obviously they didn't get their doubloons removed. And this is a bug, 100% on the developer side, 100% on Rare sides for not adequately rolling out these changes. And you would think that a normal developer who gives a shit about their player base would be like, hey, you know, we made a mistake here, we made a bug, and there's no reason to punish players who were, you know, taking advantage of this bug that is specifically our fault, and that they were taking advantage of a system because like they literally could not earn any more doubloons, that they, I guess, should be allowed to hold and keep the stuff that they bought. But instead of doing the smart thing and something that wouldn't make it so that every single one of their dedicated player base got mad at them, anyone who had made a purchase who was above this limit, and honestly I think it unintentionally or maybe intentionally harmed people who didn't even like spend doubloons because of this bug, where they just reset every single purchase that people made with these new doubloon systems. And sometimes these were like doubloons that people had earned legitimately on accounts that they got reset. So not only were they harming players who had properly earned their doubloons through the new system that they had, they're also just saying fuck you to people who took advantage of a bug that it was Rare's fault specifically for doing. Like, it is their fault for not properly rolling out this doubloon reset. The way Rare is handling this just shows that they definitely do not care in any capacity for the fans, especially if they are willing to just completely go back in its entirety on something that is entirely their mistake, and like they're harming people because of the mistakes that they've made. A lot of people aren't really happy about this in any capacity. But another big thing about this, and I know I've been talking about specifically the balloon debacle that happened in Sea of Thieves, but I need to talk about something else that is also important. And I kind of buried the lead a lot in this video, but it just kind of further exasperates the issues that people have with the developers of Sea of Thieves. There's a person named Bruno who was at one point officially like endorsed by Rare as like a community member, a creator in the community, who has been exposed for soliciting nudes of a 15-year-old. And there's pretty credible evidence. There's a Google Doc. There's a lot of screenshots of him doing this. From what I've seen, now I'm not in the Discord when this happened, and I'm assuming they're going DEFCON 5 in the fucking Discord due to just the amount of criticism that they are facing as a result of their handling of this situation. They were particularly slow to react to any of these allegations. They are largely slow in putting any sort of punishment in any capacity onto this Bruno person. And I think one of the reasons why is because, once again, they had endorsed him in the past. They don't want to say, oh, shit, we endorsed a pedophile, it turns out. You can't really weigh in these situations when there's allegations of just such an extreme, but you really can't, like, kind of do a nothing burger response and, like, ignore this and try to, like, defend yourself when someone is getting accused of such massive allegations. And from what I understand, the first thing that they did when they were informed of these allegations, the Google Doc and all these screenshots, was basically just give a nothing burger statement. But they basically just went that we are investigating and escalating all reports with the appropriate urgency, and has always been our policy, we are able to comment on individual reports or incident publicly. And then they put the official Discord on a 6-hour slow mode. This is already a big enough issue to show that you are very terrible at handling very severe allegations towards legitimately important concerns about a member of your community. When people are already mad at you from something that's completely minor, when you fuck up handling and just mess up entirely handling a legitimately major issue surrounding crimes, like, people aren't going to be happy with you. And of course, people weren't happy with you. And from what I understand, they, on the community forums for Sea of Thieves, they were censoring anything that could have possibly been surrounding these allegations, putting it on 6-hour slow mode in the Discord, very clearly not handling it well and trying to stop people from talking from it. And then just posting a nothing burger statement, which I guess is corporal speaking, maybe they don't want to get sued. It's not going to do well for you when people are already mad at you for these allegations. Like, it's not going to go well for you at all in any capacity. And so people are already concerned about you not caring about your community anyway. But the fact that you were just this bad at addressing severe allegations towards a member of your community kind of just shows that you don't give a shit of the developer. And I think this also might be one of the reasons why all these creators were backing out of the creator program, because not only were like, oh, they don't really care about us from a gameplay standpoint, they don't care about us from a community safety standpoint or a community reputation standpoint, because they're not doing enough actions to get rid of a pedophile in the community. And it's not even like this has any sort of gray space. It's a 15-year-old that he was trying to get nudes from. Like, it's absolutely crazy to me that they're this, like, slow and this nonchalant, I guess, about these allegations. And so obviously I started off with like a very nothing burger of a drama. It's more just like players being mad. But I actually think like it's generally concerning how bad the Rare developers, and I guess to see if these Discord mods have been when it comes to addressing legitimately concerns of the community. Like, they fucked up at handling such a small little thing where like they just said fuck you to a bunch of people who actually play the game. And then they just completely dropped the ball in handling how the outrage that people had surrounding a endorsed member of the Sea of Thieves community being a pedophile. And so I think like these two combined, one of them is like actually a legitimately severe thing that they didn't even do well. And like, I would have been completely fine with the company if they handled this well, and this were kind of dicks when it came to the balloon situation. But because they fucked up such a small thing, and then they followed it up by fucking up to a catastrophic magnitude of proportions, handling a pedophile in their community, it just shows that like it's rough waters out there for the Sea of Thieves community overall. And to see how they are just that unwilling to handle a legitimate concern in a appropriate manner when it comes to someone being a pedophile in their community, it's just absolutely terrible. And it just puts a bad mark on any sort of developer of Sea of Thieves, any sort of like person who really is involved with Sea of Thieves. And I can completely understand why people are trying to drop out of the creator program when, once again, they show that they don't really want to take the appropriate actions to such severe allegations of members in their community. That's all I really want to talk about. This might have been a bit clustered, and I don't know why I organized it this way, but I hope you get what I was trying to say here, and like that, this is obviously a massive fuck up by Sea of Thieves. But that's it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.